Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Happy New Year. Welcome to Vis Review Live. This is a bi-weekly session where Chimdi and I will review data visualization that we've been tagged in with the aim of helping people grow and giving feedback, especially people that are just starting out in their career, but it's open to everyone. And yeah, this is the first official session for 2026. We kicked things off last year. It was a bit slow, but yeah, happy to very excited to get things started as well this year. Chimdi, do you want to do a quick intro and then we can dive right into the feedback?
Yeah, totally. So, hi everyone. My name is Chimdi. I'm a database specialist slash developer slash designer based in Canada. And I've been using Tableau now since 2020, so about 6 years. I have experience that kind of spans, a bunch of industries. And so, my work has majorly been data visualization. And so I feel as though being here allows me an opportunity to kind of give back, give feedback, help people improve. In the same way, when I started a long time ago, I had people from the data fam doing the same thing. And so, hopefully this can add some value here. It's open to anyone. And I'll pass it off back to Zainab to introduce herself as well.
Yeah, I kind of forgot my interest because I usually do that. Yes, I am based in London. I am a data scientist. And yeah, exactly what Chimdi said. Feedback was valuable for me when I was just starting things off. And yeah, we kind of started this to be able to hopefully help other people learn as well and share feedback. And yeah, that's it. Okay, I am going to share my screen and we can get started. Okay, let
Yeah,
me know if
this
you can
week's
see my
this
screen.
week's are actually I looked at some of them. They're definitely, I think, a step up from what we're used to seeing here. So should be interesting.
Yes, and for anyone that isn't familiar, we get this visits from Slack. There's a Tableau community channel where you can post it, but you can also just like share using the hashtag #VisReviewLive. All right, so Chimdi, do you want to kick things off with this first Viz that we're looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So this viz here, we look at the title, we can see, RMS Titanic, survival by class and subsequent outcomes. So that tells us that we're looking at, I guess, survivors on the Titanic. We have some nice titles. Departure from Southampton. Okay, 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 okay. All right, so I think I kind of see a bit of what's going on here. And if I'm not mistaken, at the top, those three charts, are those scatter plots, dots? I think they might be.
No, it's just they're
No?
static images. Yeah.
Static images. Okay. So I guess in that case, I would try to, for me personally, I'm not understanding what those three things should be saying. So I would say maybe some kind of intro or clarification summary that kind of tells us what that is. We move down, we see, okay, first class, second class, what are the port sounds having passengers, passenger crew. Okay. Um, so it looks like those are the passengers in the classes, and I'm not okay.
I think it's
Wow. Okay. So what I will say is just gonna share my experiences from going here. So I think there's a lot of information here. I think this is basically trying to talk about survivals, and if I were to use my brain here. I'll say colors are actually a little bit confusing for me because when we talk about survival, I'm assuming that red is the people that maybe died, but it turns out red is actually just third class. Um, and so I would say maybe a color palette might a different color palette might work differently. And the analysis that's being done here, personally, to me, it doesn't necessarily communicate what it says it's going to communicate. So I actually don't still have much information about like survivals just because I don't think it's clear enough. But what I do like though is the sectioning of the viz. The layout is kind of well thought out. The titles are actually good, but I think that maybe if there was a little bit more white space and a little bit more clarity around like the charts, that might actually be helpful. Okay, yeah. I mean, I would say like I mean, I think maybe chart selection and just a bit more clarity. I don't have much other than that to say here. That I like the layout. I think it's well thought out. I think the analysis is also good, well intended, but I think charts and more clarity around like make it more concise, make it more add more of a story if that makes sense. What do you think, Zainab, though?
Yeah, maybe this is one of the first times that I will disagree with you. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that you touched on some key points with the color, but I feel like looking at this vase is probably one of the rare cases where I think the storytelling is really forefront. There's a
Okay.
clear timeline of events, right? So we start at the Southampton departure, and we are looking at all the passengers that departed from, and then it tells us like New York and everything, and then we go into the next kind of story in the timeline, which is the collusion. And
Yeah.
collusion then kind of goes into survivors. I One thing I really love about this piece is how the use of like dot plots and the use of like this like individual kind of boxes and plots because it really humanizes this base because it's I mean we can just throw out a number to say 2,000 passengers, 3,000 passengers, put in a bar chart and that's it. But the fact that
Mm,
you can actually hover on each dot to see
mm,
their names, to even have a sense of how many people, I think that is a really sensitive way to kind of present the data in this base. And so we go into the next timeline. I also like the extra call out of, picking out specific examples of like this baker. I feel like it's just a nice way to go deeper into the data. I think the storytelling here is really effective. So there's a baker. They're now tying it back to
ah,
alcohol consumption, and then you also see like there's some it touches a little bit on like racial prejudice, which is for me. I've seen this data set is very popular, but I'm also
oh,
learning something new to see that like okay, actually they could have been people that could have survived, but maybe there were racial biases as well. And then we move into the third part of the story, the final act, if you will, where we then see the people that were rescued. And I think the images here at top, I think I agree with you in that. I'm not sure if they're like really effective. I mean, the dots could be confusing, but it kind of gives you a sense of like, okay, this is where the lifeboats came, and then some,
mm.
and then some people survived. And I think here kind of showing about like, survivor by class. And I think one thing that I also like is they have stripped back a lot of things. So it's very easy to say I'm going to visualize everything by age group or this or that because the data set is very rich. I mean, because I am familiar
Mm.
with this data set, is very popular, as a standard data set. They really stripped out to say, actually, I'm just going to look at class and I'm going to tell my story that way. Um, I feel like
So class,
what
that's like I guess the passing the
yeah,
okay, okay,
if they
okay,
were
okay,
sitting
okay.
like if they're starting like if they got a first class ticket or a second class ticket,
Yeah.
etc.
Okay.
And so I thought that they've done that like effectively. The dot plus here just kind of gives you an overview. You can see okay, third class, survived more than like people in second class. Now, I don't know that the color, but whilst you talked about the color from me, what it signifies, I also feel like there could be an accessibility point here where green and red might not be readable by people that are not able to see these colors together, people that have color blindness. Now for this, I think the first two sections of the chart, there's like double encoding. So here, like you see first class, second class, third class. So if you didn't see the color, you could potentially still understand what is being
Right, right, right.
spoken about. Same thing here. You have first class, second class, third class. However, here I think meaning can get lost because that would just all look gray, right? So I think just being thoughtful about the use of color here could be like useful. I mean, and then I can now because I feel like they've told such an impactful story. I'm stripping back some of my design comments, right? But obviously, like
Mm.
I can go into the design to then say, maybe the contrast of the background is too much compared to like the green and the red. So it feels very heavy in terms of ink. And then, the storytelling maybe can tie a bit more, maybe use arrows and annotate specifically things like that so that it actually draws you in to take your time to go through this viz, which is probably what you saw Chimdi because you first looked at it and you were like, okay, what am I looking at here? What are these titles and everything? So yeah, they could have used design to kind of guide that storytelling a bit more. But yeah, I think overall, there's a clear. I think this author clearly has like an eye for like telling good stories and some analysis. But maybe in terms of design, just thinking about using colors purposefully, thinking about tying in those really useful insights into the chart, so that the visualization guides the storytelling rather than people taking a lot more time to find that insight. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this particular viz. But yeah, I think well done overall.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually good commentary. I will say that most definitely you listening to you talk actually
Yeah,
helped me process more of what I was looking at. And yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Cool. Let's go into the second viz, which is looks to be like a calendar. Um, Chimdi, I think you'll like this one. You could have built this, right? So yeah, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this.
No, I think you're right. I'll be honest, I do like this one just
Yeah,
with respect to, you know, I can see a lot of good design usage here. And so, it's a 2026 calendar and right, below that title, we can see the legend of, solar, special, and then, that was like a TC conference thing there.
yeah,
The month labeling that 1, 2, 3, 4, like I really love that as well. Just, it's very intuitive. And, I think the person has done a really good job of highlighting, like it's a calendar, but all the different events are highlighted. I think they used map layers and everything. I love the labeling. I love the amount of white space. I love how clean it is.
yeah,
Even down to the color choice. I mean, I would say maybe for those months, I might slightly reduce the opacity just so that it's a bit lighter, like the gray is a bit lighter, and it will still be visible for people to see those numbers. Do you mind scrolling down a little bit?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think this to me personally, I think this is well done. I will say, obviously, I don't understand the language that is originally in, but I can kind of still tell like those are the days of the week, right? So I think this is a very obvious fizz that kind of highlights things very clearly and cleanly. I like the white background. I like the choice of colors. I might play a little bit more with the palette, but that's just more personal choice. But overall, the fact of having different colors and the legends and everything, I think this one is well done. If there's only one nitpicky thing that I would say is I may execute it on a different palette. Just, like I'm not a fan of the green and red, and it maybe clashes a little bit with the other blue and peach. But other than that, I think honestly, this one I would say is well done. As
Yeah,
well, for what it's trying to do, it does it really well. It just highlights the events. The legend is clear. The colors really help. The months are right there, and it's very uniform. What do
yeah.
you think?
I completely agree with you on that. I think just to add, when I was putting up these Vs, the author had said that they were trying to use map layers for the first time. And if you don't know, like
Okay.
map layers is a technique in Tableau where you kind of stack things on top of each other. So this like extra legends, they've used map layers smartly to kind of layer that on top of like the box and the square. So I just thought, technically as well, I think the
Yeah.
execution is really good. Overall, very clean chart, very readable. I am so bothered by this pink highlighted date. Is that the current? It's not. I don't know if I don't know if it's meant to be today's date. I mean, today is the 21st of January. I really want to know what
Mhm.
it is because I'm trying to click and figure out, okay, is there something here that I could be missing? So
Yeah,
maybe,
if you scroll up, so that
yeah,
at the middle there, I just assumed that basically that is what that is. That is today. But you're right. Actually, I don't really know, but I just assumed
yeah,
that was
except
like
there's some time
supposed to be.
zone thing here, and maybe it's in second. I don't know. That was really bothering me. I mean,
Yeah.
minor comments. I feel like maybe the color of the icons, I think you touched on this,
Hmm.
could have a bit more contrast so that it stands out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I have much more to add. I love the tooltip. It just feels considered with the font weight and like the white space around it. I love how bold it is. I think this is a well designed yeah, calendar. I would hang this, in my house. So,
Yeah, this actually makes me want to go build out a calendar because I also saw a recent calendar viz from Lindsay Bentitoff with
right.
the Visionary. And so seeing that, I was like, wow, cool. And now seeing this, I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah, it is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's see what this is about.
Mm.
So this is top 10 extreme coasters. Is this like roller coasters?
Yeah, this is a Makeover Monday submission, I would assume. Yeah, I can see Makeover Monday. The
Right,
world's tallest roller coasters. That was the topic for this week.
right. Okay. I like that there's some context here. The US dominates, it kind of gives you like a high level if you want to read the text. I also really like that there's an arrow here that tells you that you can over on the bar to find out more because I mean I could just very well interact with these views looking at the bar chart. So I think just guiding people on how to interact is nice. Now I see some interactivity here, so you can actually look at the thrill factor, height, drop, speed. I think this data set is a fun one. I
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if it's old age, but I don't take roller coasters anymore. I used to love them when I was younger. So I think this is a fun one. I mean, the okay, so I'm just trying to click around things to see how this works. I'm not sure what the colors mean. Okay, so North America, rest of the world. Honestly, I feel that is a very good way to highlight like North America and then compare to rest of the world. I think color was used purposefully. The yellow circles is taking me a bit of time to figure out if there's a reason for that or if that's just to show the rank of does that is it always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Because it just feels to me, it feels unnecessary. If that's the only point of this, like circles here, is just to show this is the first, this is the second, this is the third, this is the fourth, it feels a bit unnecessary because the bar chart is ordered, right? So maybe if I were to take away one thing, I would say I'm not sure why. Okay, yeah, you can also, I think this is definitely the rank. And then in the tooltip, oh, that's a really nice touch where you see the map, I guess, of where it is. I think this is, I like these views. I'm not the biggest fan of the background. I think it's distracting, but I think for a fun views like this, I think there's some room in flexibility and how you choose to display it. Yeah, Chimdi, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's like a very good analysis. And I do agree generally with most of that. I will say I'm going to start in reverse. The tooltips, I love those. That's something that I'm a huge fan of in my work. And so I think it's a really great opportunity to show extra information. So really well done with that. I love the title, how it's big and it has that information hierarchy kind of there, and then you have
Yeah,
that summary. I'm a huge fan of kind of like the execution here.
yeah,
The things that I will be nitpicky about, stuff you already mentioned. That background, I think that if you want to do something like that, it might be helpful to fade it out significantly because
right,
the colors themselves, they're not hurting. They actually tend to work well from a beauty aesthetics design perspective. But because that's not a core communication thing, I don't think it should be so prominent, right? It can
right.
turn into a distraction very easily. That'll be the one thing. Now, those yellow circles, I do also agree it's a little bit OD. I would potentially just do the bars. I love the demarcation with the different colors. And I would just label the ranks normally, right? I think it's one of those things where
Yeah,
if you want to include the information, just do it while also remembering that, everything has to earn its place and we still need to focus on the highlights. And so those circles, they make it seem like there's something else there, but it's just the ranking. So
yeah,
I say just label it normally and let it breathe, right? The only other thing that is, again, just personal preference is if you have to sort of label and flip those vertically, like
yeah.
I get that it's not always the end of the world, but I'm personally someone that just does not
Right.
necessarily
Yeah. So
like
you're referring
that.
to the axis.
Yeah, so I may consider flipping it, but I'm not saying this doesn't work. I'm just saying that this is Makeover Monday, and so we want to see creativity. There's a lot of free freedom to do what you want to. But if I analyze it from a best practice perspective, then I may reconsider using those labels because the users has to like
Yeah, you
go
can have
like
it
that.
in your head. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
those will be the only things. But again, I like this design. This person is obviously not a beginner, and they do know actually how to layer things in. They know about design stuff, and I think this is definitely a good rendition here for this one on Makeover Monday. Well done.
Yeah, and classic bar charts work most of the
Yeah,
time. I just love
yeah.
a clean bar chart. Cool. Next we have, I think we have a couple more to go through. So this is LinkedIn Analytics 2025. Let me just expand this a little bit. Okay. Maybe I can start with this one.
Mhm.
I like that the color palette is stripped back, so you're just using blue as highlight and that's it. I think there's also a clear title. This person is clearly analyzing their LinkedIn impressions, engagement, etc. And the sparkline obviously shows the trend. I don't know from where. Okay, so this is from January, or okay, as it says 2025. Like that the peak periods are kind of highlighted, maybe most impressions on 8,000, blah blah blah. This person is clearly visualizing the personal data, and I'm itching to know why these peaks happened, right? I feel like a nice annotation there to say, oh, I made this post on this
Mhm.
day, or I was tagged in this particular page, could just personalize it a bit more. That being said, I don't know if that's like the aim of these videos, but I'm just saying like having that context could just help us to explain why we are highlighting this, other than the fact that this is just the most, this is the day I had the most impression. There's also like the average kind of benchmark. I always like that it gives you a comparison of like how much above average or below average they get these metrics. Could they have done something with color here? So here they've used like a blue background to just, I guess, differentiate like this like metrics or these sections, or to highlight these sections. I wonder though if a background could have been more effective or more purposeful if they had used it to see color the days that are above the average versus the days that are not above the average. So that way you actually have a justification for the color. Again, every decision you make on your visualization kind of considers, it factors into how it is consumed and how the final output is. So instead of just using a blue background that doesn't really, add much more, maybe you can then say, actually, I'm going to highlight instances where I went above average. Just a thought, right? That could be one way to take this up a notch. I like the big numbers. You get the overall sum, and then you also get the breakdown. And then this is like a week over week view. I don't know if I'm learning much from this. I'm not sure if this is the best way to present this. And maybe this is just preference, Chimdi. Tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels a bit scanty. And maybe, okay, maybe the point is to kind of show the weeks where they did have some sort of
It seems like they're
post.
maybe showing their contribution on a weekday basis
Right,
across each week. So I'm assuming the circle, it looks like maybe the size of
right.
engagement. Yeah.
I see, and it's clickable, so it's interactive. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, that does seem to
I
reference
think
code.
a small subtitle here, a little title here,
Yeah.
just to say, you know, something, the days I had the post or something like that, I think will have helped me to kind of get to that insight quicker. And typically, you also want to reduce time to insight for your stakeholders. But other than that, I think overall, I think it's a clean V's. Could it have been slimmer? Maybe. But yeah, I think it's, so there's also the option to view weekly. So yeah, I think that's most of what I have. Chimdi, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I think this is well done. Ojoswi is my fellow Makeover Monday co-host, but I promise I'm not biased in any way. I already saw this viz. I like it. I'm a huge fan of people who can successfully do the whole one color palette thing, so I really respect that.
Yeah.
Um, I do think for something like this, when we do LinkedIn reviews or whatever the case may be, I would have liked to maybe see, so okay, what was your growth, right? What
Yeah.
some of those changes, just to give that
Right.
context.
That's a good point.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's cool that we do have the ability to explore, the options to switch the grain. I think that's really good. The dashboard itself or the viz itself, I think is very clean. What I think might help a little bit is some kind of sectioning off, right? Because I can see some attempts being done at separation.
Yeah.
It might help your average person to like just separate things a bit more. That's probably the one thing that I would say. And then because it's also like you mentioned, Zainab, it's personal vising. I think for those, there has to be additional context, additional annotation, because you're basically telling us what you want us to see based on this
Yeah.
data that you're sharing with us. And so I've seen this kind of thing done with people. And so I think that just accompanying with some sort of, I did this and this happened, like that storytelling aspect plus the context, that would take this even further. But as an exploratory tool where it's just kind of like, get inside and kind of explore a little bit, I think that works. Um, yeah, and I like the bottom being like how it connects us to the actual posts because it kind of actualizes what we're looking at. And so if I were to just kind of sum it up, I think it's really well done. I like how clean it is. I love the uniform, like single color palette, which is kind of linked to the LinkedIn situation. But I would say give a bit more context as to what happened and then maybe communicate a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think? What do you feel? How did this occur like in your reality? That those kinds of things will be helpful because with personal, it's always about being engaging as opposed to maybe in like a business setting where it's like explore and find your story. So that's my small critique, but I think this is still a good viz. And it still it works in certain ways.
Agreed. We have two
Yeah.
more to get through.
All right.
Hopefully we can do it in the time limit. So, okay. Latin America in numbers, let me expand this. Chimdi, I think you can start us off with this one.
This one is a simple viz, but it's done in a very decent way. So LATAM in numbers, that makes it very clear what we're going to be looking at. And it basically lets us know that we're going to be looking at Latin America, the economic and social pulse of the region. And then we now have our six little boxes there, very clearly separated, right? And then you have all the countries and your population, your GDP. And then it looks like basically Mexico, right, is being highlighted across. And if you click a country, now that country, do you mind clicking? Let's see how that works.
Yep.
Yeah, I like this a lot. This is like simple. It has the right functionality. It's got the layout that makes it easy to understand. And even looking at the tooltips, I
Yeah.
mean, this is really well done with
Yeah.
respect to like even just what's in the tooltips. The only critique, just because I'm being, you know, whatever. I'm probably not a fan, like the border, that yellow thing around there.
Right. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not the end of the world,
Oh.
but some of the map, for example, I think that works really well. If this was on a maybe gray, I mean, I might do something like this on a white, like a cleaner background, I think, because the color and the way it's used in the charts, and even with the interactivity, I think the color should have been reserved more for that, and then maybe mute the background a little bit more. But that's again just more of a personal thing. I think this is well done. I like it's simple, it's very clear, and it uses Tableau functionality to actually
Yeah.
give that information, like the tooltip and then the expanding and then interacting and then seeing each country across each of the boxes like that. And on the map, just the execution of this, two thumbs up, very well done. Only thing, like I said, I might clean up the background again just with if I have to say something, that's what I would say. Clean up the background a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah. What do you
I
think?
I think everything you said, it's very clean. It uses bar charts, stylized a bit with the rounded borders, but I'm not mad at that. I love the tooltip where you can also over to see like how the population has changed over years. Also, it's very interactive, so you can actually
Yeah.
expand the charts to kind of zone in on that. And I can see this as just imagine when to take a screenshot of this particular story and post it on your social
Mhm.
media. I think that is very effective. I love that you can click into kind of the map. The map is also very clean here, and just see like what's going on. The only and this is me nitpicking here, is I wish it were easier if there was an easier way to compare a particular country across all these metrics. So right here, I can see
Mm.
that Colombia ranks third. They rank 17 when it comes to happiness and 8 when
Mm.
it comes to HDI. But I kind of need to like do a little bit of exercise. I don't even know what I would. I think the design of these views is not meant for comparison.
Right.
However,
Are you thinking of like the one of those ranking charts? Maybe they can have like each metric on the axis and then each country and then it kind of goes across. Maybe one of those might work. So for each
yeah,
line, you can see how each country is ranking and it's all connected. That
yeah.
might work like for this, something like
Yeah,
this.
like a
I've
rank
seen, yeah.
chart, or maybe if, and again, I know I'm not trying to take away from design because I think design can
Mhm.
also be personal. But imagine if these three charts, these three top three were not separated by like borders, and it just
Mhm.
feels like it's in one kind of table view. You can still keep the colors and everything, but that way my eyes can travel,
Mhm.
population, GDP, per capita, and I can just have like a visual idea of the rank across all these metrics. I mean, obviously, that would then mean
Yeah.
that all the six metric will have to be on one kind of line.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I'm offering like a great alternative here. This is just like a tiny nitpick where
Mhm.
if I wanted people to be able to do that easily, maybe I will think about how I can highlight that. But again, I don't even know if that's like the purpose of these views. I already think it's like a nice clean views with the ranks here. And yeah, I think this is well done.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think obviously with analysis, we're always thinking about what is the goal, and then with
Yeah,
that goal, we choose our chart. So I guess, because we don't know the goal of this, I mean, yeah, we do know kind of with based
yeah.
on what's been done here. But yeah, there's definitely, ways that this can be done
Yeah,
differently. Yeah.
I agree. And I really like the vibrant colors as well. I feel like it speaks to to the
Hmm.
region, and I just like it, like the colors of the map, of the
Yeah.
flags, etc.
Yeah,
All
blue
right.
and yellow are those, I think those might be complementary if I remember my color wheel properly. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, blue and
yeah,
yellow
blue
work
and
well.
yellow work well together. Yes,
Yeah,
that's true. All right.
definitely.
Let's go for the last one, and then we can wrap up. Okay. This is a long form one. Okay.
I
This is
know this guy too.
interesting.
Yeah.
Who's the author? Let me see if I can.
I think he
Hiroto
participates.
Saki.
HIROTO, yeah, he does a lot of makeover Mondays, and so like I like this guy's work. Sorry, go ahead. Is it my turn to go, or is it your turn?
I mean, you can go for it.
No, I mean, I like this viz a lot, right? Just because, you know, like, okay, Euros top five leagues. I like that big title. I love, the subtitle that's telling us like, okay, through the lens of starting formations, and then we go right in the great shift. We have the, summary right there with the numbers being shown, and it's like, highlighting those trends and everything. One question I do have though. So each line is what?
Here, the formation.
Yeah.
So there are different
Okay.
formations.
So,
Highlighted 4-4-2, 4-5-1.
other. Okay. I didn't
Yeah,
see. I was wondering what that. Yes. Okay. So I know that. Okay. Got it. So formations. Okay. Scroll down, please.
yeah,
Landscape. All right. Okay. 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 Yeah. And yeah. So this is perfect. Okay. Not perfect, but like, this is well done. Keep scrolling, please. Yeah, I mean, where do I start? So the sectioning of this viz, it's really well done. The storytelling, also really well done. Now the colors, it's a dark background, so I find those, you have to be really careful with what you're choosing. It has to have good contrast. So I think the colors themselves for the charts, it looks like it has good contrast. The text is visible as well.
yeah,
Just the design work here, I think, is really good in terms of highlighting. And I think it's simply easy to understand, mainly because it's all about the formations. And so it's just breaking everything up into different things.
yeah,
Premiere. Yeah, I mean, I think this is really well done. In terms of, you know, how like it's like if you look, for example, look at the league characters, like this stuff, how can you click through, please? Let's see. So Premier League on the left hand side.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. I did click Bundesliga somewhere on top. So
Yeah, so look at that. So click again.
Right.
It's gonna move, yeah. And so it's just this kind of stuff, like this is just smart data viz, like it's
Yeah.
really it takes a lot of this information. Like there's so much information here, and it condenses it in such a way where it's very digestible. It looks really good while he's doing this. And just even the conclusion, the future outlook, like just the transition of everything, I think it was really well done. Again, to me, I don't, literally the only thing that I may consider is just I'm not a fan of center alignment
Right.
for things. That's literally the only thing here. I would
We are
left
referring to
align
the
the title.
titles and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
that's what I would change. Maybe, yeah, background is okay. Background's good. I think that's probably for me. Just the left aligning of things. That's probably what I would do. I like the chart styles. I like the chart types. Um, I guess maybe the only other thing would be those circles on the line charts. Maybe I might take that away because there are a lot of line charts, and that doesn't necessarily add any value to the information there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
that's it for me, but this is good. So over to you.
I really like the storytelling on this one. I think that this is like on design, storytelling, and analysis. I feel like this Viz touches on all those points and they do it very well. I love
Yeah.
this reflection point here where with the line chart you can really kind of see where people stopped or switched from 4-4-2 formation to like 4-5-1, and it kind of makes you want to question why. But then you can now scroll into the charts and on the V's, you can see how that kind of differs across different leagues. So Premier League, for example, like all the leagues actually are big on like 4-4-4-5-1 on the 4-5-1 formation. But when it comes to the 4-4-2, you can see it's more popular in La Liga, less popular in like League One. And I think these are like really interesting like insights, and you can read all the like extra notes if you want. So in a way, the data V's, the charts stand out, and then the text kind of guides you to learn a bit more. I think overall, one thing I would say is also, I think, really simple chart work. And sometimes it's not about the chart choice or using the most complicated chart type, which obviously there's always a room and a time and a day for that. But here we just have line charts, bar charts, a box kind of plot, not a box plot, but like a dot plot, basically, some kind of dot plot. And it's really simple, but it's in the presentation, it's in the storytelling, in the flow of information. So instead of, as opposed to revealing all the insight all at once, interactivity is used to kind of guide the storytelling. So overall, I think this is like very, very effective, very well done, and it ends with a conclusion, which means that you can actually really spend time going through this, really learning what the author is trying to say, and see their perspective as well. So overall, very well done, Viz. If I were to nitpick just one small thing, is I'm not the biggest fan of this white border around the bars. I mean, that's just a personal preference. If you really wanted to keep it borders, I'll probably have opted for like a lighter gray or something that doesn't just make the already heavy contrast even heavier, and a lot more stack for the audience. So and that's just a personal preference. I think that will really help to keep things a bit more muted, because this viz already has a lot of color and a very dark background, which makes the contrast very high. But yeah, other than that, very well done. Storytelling, design, analysis, I would say they really hit on all the points. And yeah, really, really, I think this is a great last viz to look at for the day. Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's very interesting too because I think the one thing which I do notice, right, is people who kind of pick up this type of stuff, they're usually involved in some kind of challenge, whether it's like back to Viz Basics or
yeah,
Makeover Monday. Like for today, the two that, seemed to stand out positively, like this one, and there was another one about the roller coasters and stuff. Those are both the Makeover Monday. So I'm really proud to see that because like HIROTO, he showed up a lot, last year. And so I'm not even surprised to see
yeah,
because practice really doing this stuff over and over. That's really how you get good. And it sounds so simple. It just sounds like one of those things where it's like, oh, very cliche, but we see it over and over again. Somebody shows up today, they're consistent, and then, but damn, they just kind of like pop up and it's like they're doing amazing things. And
yeah.
so I love it. There's so much talent in the community. Yeah, it's really great. This is a good one. And that section you're highlighting over, I just really like this section. I just love
Yeah,
how the execution is on this is stellar. I love it. I love it.
yeah,
Awesome work, Hiroto. Amazing work.
yeah, amazing work.
Yeah.
All right. I think that is the last viz that we have for today. I can stop sharing. Let me see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Nice, nice visits.
Yeah, really good. I think variety of topics as well, which is
Yes.
nice. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining and for watching wherever you watch the wherever you're watching this, and see you again in 2 weeks.
See you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.